So when people talk about older artists being sexist or homophobic or racist, it's like, yeah, I'm sure they were. I am sure they were, as much of the population was, and still is. So when consuming media from a different time, I think most people are able to hold space for, I am able to enjoy this piece of art and also be cognizant of the fact that they were probably bigoted in some sort of way, right? Because that is just the context that they were living in. It doesn't make it right, but I feel that that is pretty objective. In fact, if a successful artist from a long, long time ago had the same morals and social stances as a young Gen Z person today, I kind of have a feeling that they wouldn't have been that successful.
The album is written.
What?
I had a spark of inspiration last night when I saw a stranger from across the dance floor at, the sock hop or whatever it is we went to back then, and, well, what can I say? It felt like love at first sight.
Well, I'm so glad to hear that you felt inspired, but aren't you married to your husband?
Let me read you some lyrics.
Okay.
Walk into the club and the bass is bumping. Saw her across the dance floor and my heart started thumping. Shorty's so bad I need to bust it wide open.
I beg your pardon, did you say her?
Well, yes, she absolutely took my heart asunder. I mean, I couldn't even breathe when I first saw her. It was like the beauty of her face was the key to a lock inside me that I didn't even know existed. And now all these emotions are pouring out. And oh God, don't even get me started on her rack.
Okay, I think you know this, but women should not be talking about other women this way, okay? Only men should be able to objectify women.
I don't think that's true. I objectify women all the time.
Whatever songs you wrote, you have to scrap it immediately, all right? These feelings that you are having are hellish and sinful, all right? In this day and age, the only feelings that a woman should be having are feelings of resentment and rage towards her husband.
Well, trust me, I have that too.
I think you need to leave.
I beg your pardon.
Oh, you heard me. Scram! Lesbian, scram!
What? A woman can't even write a sexually explicit song about another woman of a different race?
A different race?
All right, calm the fuss. Okay, what if they are non-binary but femme-presenting, polyamorous and ethnically ambiguous and demisexual?
What? But how do people feel when the artist in question is still alive and actively making art and, isn't living in a different socio-cultural landscape? Because if you're a bigot today, then it's just like, what the hell? The excuse of, it was just a different time, can't save you. What was the different time? This morning? There are many people who don't feel morally able to support, especially financially support, certain artists who have done very problematic things. For example, some people feel weird about engaging in Harry Potter related things because J.K. Rowling is a flaming transphobe. Some people have stopped listening to Kanye West's music because of his anti-Semitic remarks, saying slavery was a choice, his endorsements of Trump, among other things, though it is significant to mention that he does have, some mental health issues. Chris Brown has lost support because he is abusive. Lizzo has lost support because she was accused of making what's that called when you, fat shaming and making a hostile work environment for her dancers. Maddie Healy has been under fire before and has lost some fans because of some racist comments and sort of just edgy jokes that I did not really land. And there are many, many more examples. But while these artist profits have suffered, they are still making a profit. And I'm kind of convinced that, honestly, no matter how problematic someone is, they will still have fans. So it seems like the amount of people who are able to separate the art from the artist is pretty high. There are plenty of artists who are highly controversial and have done a bad thing or even repeated multiple bad things and are still having, a certain degree of success that maybe you wouldn't think they would have. And this is a big argument as to why people say that cancel culture is not real. Because all of those people that I just mentioned, they're still objectively successful. Let me get my notes. J.K. Rowling made over $10 million from Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. Kanye West has nearly 70 million Spotify listeners, and Yeezy is still a relatively successful brand. Chris Brown still has over 50 million Spotify monthly listeners, as well as millions of views on YouTube. Lizzo still has 13 million monthly Spotify listeners than 1975, also has 13 million Spotify listeners, plenty of adoring fans, and were recently on a tour. So as much as people go back and forth about, can you separate the art from the artist? Should you separate the art from the artist? At the end of the day, you just have to do what you want to personally do, because People are still gonna stream and watch. They really will. Once you have a solidified fan base, right, you can be essentially as controversial as you want, it seems, and you're still gonna have fans. Or honestly, they don't even have to like you as an individual. They just have to like your music or your art so much that it doesn't really matter. I'm telling you, it sounds too insincere.
Bro, I literally spent like 3 hours on that.
All you have written down is, okay, damn, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm keeping it short and sweet. The fuck?
Okay, well, I am suggesting that maybe you add a little bit more pizzazz, considering you sent things that I will not even speak of to a minor.
Bro, for the last time, I told you, okay? I didn't know that she was 15. I thought that she was 17.
That's still illegal! Hi, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to interrupt. I'm just such a huge fan of your music. I was wondering if I could get a picture.
Oh, yeah, sure. Oh my god.
Oh, sorry. I meant with you.
Oh, fuck no.
That's totally fair.
Is this gonna mess up the promotions for Ugly Girls Get to the Back?
We are not naming your new single that. I think it's a great name.
I think you need to get to the back.
Totally. Could you just sign something for me real quick?
Okay, why do you want his autograph? He's literally an asshole, okay? The only reason I'm still his manager is because he's blackmailing me. It's true.
I mean, once you get past the racist stuff and the transphobic stuff and the grooming a minor stuff, the songs are just like really fucking catchy. Speaking of degrees of separation. So this is falling a little bit more into cancel culture, so I guess I am going on a little bit of a tangent, but honestly, the social landscape that evolved to make cancel culture also has triggered conversations about separating the art from the artist, so maybe it's not too huge of a tangent. Art is sometimes things are a little bit more individualized, but a lot of the times, many pieces of art it's a very collective process. It takes a lot of people to make something. There is not just a moral accountability for the consumer to be cognizant of, these bad artists, but also other artists who collaborate with other artists. For example, Katy Perry and Kim Petras have both received criticism for working with known abuser, Dr. Luke.
Katy, is there a reason why you work with Dr. Luke?
Isn't your album about women empowerment? Why are you working with Dr. Luke?
Rina Sawayama. Rina Sawayama's fans were upset because she was collaborating with Paris Hilton. Chloe Bailey received backlash for making music with Chris Brown, and the list goes on and on and on. For these types of situations, I think the main things people take into account is obviously the degree of wrongdoing, right, by the problematic artist, and then also the presence of choice, right? Did you have to work with this person, or was this something that was out of your control? As far as I'm concerned, in the situations that I just listed prior, I would think there would be some degree of choice, right? But then again, I'm not in the music industry, so I really don't know. Speaking from the film industry, what I will say is sometimes you cannot help who you're cast with or who else is on set. There have been times that I've worked with people and been on sets with people that I don't align with them politically, and they've said certain things where I'm kind of like, but I still have to work with them because it's kind of not my choice. It's like any other workplace where I'm sure a lot of you guys probably have, conservative coworkers or whatnot. For example, when the Rachel Zegler hate train was happening and people wanted to boycott the new Snow White, something that people were bringing up and holding against her was the fact that she starred alongside Ansel Elgort, a problematic actor who was in West Side Story. Then there were people demanding that Jenna Ortega speak explicitly about the situation with her co-star Percy Hines and to denounce him publicly, who he was on the show Wednesday with her. Or people boycott certain shows or movies because members of the cast or crew are problematic, even if the other members of the ensemble did nothing wrong. It's kind of like, when there's like a bad kid in class, but everybody gets punished. And let me be clear, okay, if you feel like you cannot morally support a piece of art because even one person did something that you just cannot, it crossed your boundary. I'm putting up a boundary and you crossed it, that is completely fine. I'm not saying, well, you should watch this show because I think that the gaffer and the makeup artist were really nice. There are shows that I stopped watching or will not watch in the future because I know that certain members of the cast are, quite frankly, I have evidence to believe that they are bad people. Even though I know that other people in the cast and crew may be very good Samaritans, you know. So you do what you want, right? But I just want to point out that there are times where I think we need to